Take a look at this photograph. These are the streets of Notting Hill, now lined with luxury homes and designer boutiques. But what if I told you that just a few decades ago, this area was one of London's poorest and most dangerous slums? Take a look at this photograph. These are two of Britain's most prominent politicians, David Cameron, the former Prime Minister, and George Osborne, the former Chancellor of the Exchequer. Both of these men used to call Notting Hill home, a place now synonymous with wealth and power. But just a few decades ago, Notting Hill was a neighborhood known for overcrowded streets, crime, and deep poverty. So how did it transform into one of London's most exclusive and desirable areas? Let's uncover the hidden history behind London's richest district. Back in the early 1800s, Notting Hill was mostly farmland and open fields on the western edges of London. The area was part of the Ladbroke Estate, a large parcel of land owned by the Ladbroke family. The Ladbrokes had a vision for this land to transform it into a grand residential district with rows of elegant stucco houses surrounding large private garden squares. The Ladbroke family hired an architect named Thomas Allison, who came up with an ambitious design. Allison's idea was inspired by the grand designs of Regent's Park, and the vision was to create a peaceful, leafy suburb for the middle and upper classes. But in 1825, a financial crisis hit, and money for construction dried up. As a result, parts of Notting Hill remained undeveloped for years, and the area didn't immediately attract wealthy residents like the Ladbrokes had hoped. Instead, more modest houses were built, and the people who moved in were mostly working-class families. Over time, some of the larger homes were divided into smaller flats, and this led to overcrowding. Therefore, by the late 19th century, Notting Hill had a reputation for being a poorer, more run-down part of London, despite its beautiful architecture. A significant part of Notting Hill's troubled history involves the waves of immigrant communities who arrived in the area throughout the 19th and early 20th centuries. Many Irish immigrants came to Notting Hill during the Great Famine of the 1840s, seeking a better life, but instead finding themselves in the dire conditions of the Piggeries and Potteries slums. The name Piggeries came from the many pig farms that existed in the area, and Potteries referred to the clay pits used for brickmaking. Together, they created a dangerous and unhygienic environment. Open sewage ran through the streets, and overcrowded houses sat right next to pigsties, making life in this part of Notting Hill miserable for its residents. The neighborhood's decline reached its lowest point after World War II. Like much of London, Notting Hill was battered by the war, and with housing in short supply, the large neglected houses were further divided into even smaller units. Entire families were crammed into single rooms, and landlords often ignored basic maintenance. One infamous landlord, Peter Rachman, became known for exploiting tenants, packing them into squalid flats while raising rents beyond what they could afford. The term Rachmanism even became a shorthand for such exploitative practices in the 1950s. But Notting Hill's dark chapter wasn't just about housing. The area had also become one of London's most notorious crime hotspots. In the years after the war, many Caribbean immigrants arrived in London as part of the Windrush generation, looking for work and a new life. A large number settled in Notting Hill, joining the already overcrowded and diverse community. Unfortunately, instead of being welcomed, these new arrivals often faced racism and hostility, which eventually boiled over into the Notting Hill riots of 1958. The riots were believed to have been triggered by an incident involving Margaret Morrison, a white Swedish woman, and her Jamaican husband, Raymond Morrison. On 29 August 1958, the couple got into a heated argument at the Latimer Road Underground station. A group of white bystanders tried to intervene, and a small fight broke out between them and some of Raymond Morrison's friends. The next day, Majbrit Morrison was attacked by a group of white youths who had seen her the night before. They threw milk bottles at her, called her racial slurs like black man's trollop, and even struck her in the back with an iron bar. Later that same night, a mob of 300 to 400 white people gathered on Bramley Road and began attacking the homes of West Indian residents. The violence spiraled, with rioting and attacks continuing every night until 6th September. The Metropolitan Police arrested more than 140 people during the 2 weeks of unrest, with most being white youths, though many black residents were also arrested for carrying weapons to defend themselves. Out of the chaos, however, came a spark of unity. In response to the riots and the strained race relations, activist Claudia Jones organized a Caribbean carnival. This event, held at St. Pancras Town Hall, was a precursor to the famous Notting Hill Carnival, which remains one of the largest street festivals in Europe, celebrating Caribbean culture and resilience. By the time the 1980s rolled around, Notting Hill was ready for a major transformation. This shift was largely driven by Margaret Thatcher's housing policies. One of her key initiatives was the Right to Buy scheme, which allowed people living in council housing to purchase their homes at a discount. This policy encouraged private home ownership across the country and sparked a broader property boom, especially in London. Because of this, wealthy buyers started to look for areas with potential for redevelopment and investment, and Notting Hill, with its central location and unique architecture, was a prime target. Notting Hill's famous white stucco-fronted houses, which had been neglected for so long, were now seen as hidden gems. Affluent Londoners were drawn to the neighborhood's mix of historic charm and proximity to the city's core. Therefore, more people began purchasing and renovating the grand old homes, restoring them to their former glory. As these homes were transformed, so too was the image of Notting Hill, which began to shed its reputation as a rundown, overcrowded area. In the 1990s, the neighborhood's appeal continued to grow, attracting a wave of celebrities and media personalities. Notting Hill became known as a cultural hotspot and a trendy place to live. The release of the movie Notting Hill in 1999, starring Hugh Grant and Julia Roberts, only added to the neighborhood's allure. The film showcased the area's charm to a global audience, further cementing Notting Hill's status as one of London's most desirable and fashionable districts. Notting Hill's journey from farmland to slums to one of London's most prestigious neighborhoods is a testament to the complex evolution of urban spaces. Over the centuries, it has seen highs and lows, from the Piggeries and Potteries slums to its glamorous, celebrity-filled streets today. But what's important to recognize is how policy decisions, especially Margaret Thatcher's Right to Buy scheme, played a pivotal role in shaping Notting Hill's and much of the UK's housing landscape. On the surface, this seemed like a revolutionary way to give working-class families the opportunity to own property, and indeed, many people's lives were transformed. However, the long-term consequences of this policy were more problematic. Although the policy increased home ownership, it significantly depleted the stock of social housing, as the homes sold under the scheme were rarely replaced. This created a housing shortage, leaving fewer affordable homes available for those in need. The government earned billions from the sales, but the lack of investment in building new social housing left a vacuum, and this contributed to the housing crisis we see today. Moreover, many of the ex-council homes sold under Right to Buy have since fallen into the hands of private landlords. By 2013, about one-third of the former council homes were owned by wealthy landlords who have often rented them out at market rates, further driving up rent prices in areas like Notting Hill. What was once affordable housing for the working class has now become a lucrative investment for the wealthy. So as Notting Hill continues to be a symbol of wealth and exclusivity, it's worth asking, Will its charm and high status endure, or could it face yet another transformation in the future? The policies that shape urban spaces, like Right to Buy, show us how quickly neighborhoods can change and how decisions made decades ago still affect us today.